The use of the word sustainability, this is an interesting graph I picked up recently. In 1960, the word sustainability was used 0.401% of the time. 1980, 0.0001. 2000, 0.001. If we do a little extrapolation of the word sustainability, we see that by the year 2014 it was used 0.1% of the time, and in 2060 we can see it being used 1% of the time, and by 2120 the word sustainability will be continuous. So I like to think about the little things. The little things. I'm an engineer, and engineers think about all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to talk about some of the little things, and perhaps if we take advantage of the thought of some of the little things, we mightn't have to think so much about the big things. Now I want to show you this picture of a solar power station called the geothermal. It's located in Spain. It spans 400 acres, some 230 hectares. It cost $230 million to build, and it operates with the sun shining onto mirrors, beaming the energy into a heat collector at the top. It heats water, and that creates steam, and that creates electricity, and that can produce 110 billion watt hours of electricity annually. Cost $230 million. Now, we're talking about sustainability and managing the little things. This is a typical wind generating station. There are 13 wind turbines there, each of 2 megawatts output capacity. Each cost approximately $4 million to build. This station has a capacity of 26 megawatt hours of electricity continuously, assuming the wind blows, of course. This station costs approximately $52 million to build, this entire station. Let's have a bit of a look at some of the little things. Mobile phones. Now, I would say almost all of us have a mobile phone, and generally we plug it in at night to charge it, correct? And we get up in the morning and the phone's charged. It takes typically 1 watt hour of energy or power to charge a mobile phone. There are 8 billion mobile phones in the world. 8 billion mobile phones in the world. This does not include laptops, it does not include tablets. We would need 26 of these just to charge mobile phones. 26 complete solar power stations. Alternatively, 13 of these just to charge mobile phones. We don't think about the little things. But you know what? If when we purchased our mobile phone, somebody gave us a small solar cell with a battery, and during the day we hang that out the window, it collects the sun and charges a battery, we plug our phone into it in the evening and charge our phone, and those complete solar cells and batteries you can buy for a few dollars, we could delete 26 of those and 13 of those, just for the provision of a small solar cell with each mobile phone we purchased. But we don't think about that. We don't think about the little things and the little way we use energy. And so I'm an engineer and I explore these things and I find opportunities. Opportunities. The word opportunity means an observed, fortunate set of circumstances. I look around for opportunities. Have a look at this one. Has anyone ever thought about this? When we make a credit card purchase, typically we get 2 pieces of paper. One of them is the credit card receipt and the other is the invoice. Folks, if each person in Australia makes just 1 credit card purchase per day and does that, a staple weighs 0.06 of a gram. We use 438 tonnes of staples every year in Australia for that purpose. And if you like to think of Australia of just 20 million people, we can extrapolate that to the world. And I've just said, look, let's multiply it by 50 and assume there's a billion people in the developed world. In fact, there's more than that. But if we took in all of EU and all of the US and the developed parts of China and developed parts of India and so on, we would easily find a billion people. For a billion people, the number of staples there is 22,000 tonnes of just staples, and a staple weighs 0.06 of a gram. There's got to be a better way. One of those complete power stations would be insufficient to supply just the staples. It takes 6 megawatt hours of electricity or energy or power to make 1 tonne of steel. We use 22,000 tonnes of steel for staples. One of those would not be sufficient to provide the energy. But let's look a little further. How often do we go and purchase something with a credit card? I was in Sydney yesterday, and I would say I had 10 taxi rides. Each time I got one of those. Checked out of the hotel, I got one of those. Every time that's printed out, there's roughly 10 centimetres of paper. For Australia alone, for 1 year, we print out 1.4 million kilometres of those receipts. For the world, 73 million kilometres of paper. Just to print these receipts. We don't think about the energy, the power, the trees, etc. to require these little things to happen. I think about these little things and say, how can we affect these? And for many of these, I have solutions. I find these problems and then I have solutions. I've found a better way. There are other ways to do this. This is unbelievable. You see, we do these things blindly, and this is not a criticism of people, it's just a fact that we're thinking about the big things like how can we make a bigger solar power station, how can we get more wind turbines, how can we do this, that and the other. These stations cost $230 million each. There's $6 billion worth of power stations there at 400 acres per station. And you've got to replace the panels periodically, you've got to clean them, etc., 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 and distribute the energy. The mind boggles. But it gets worse. Let's wash our hands. I've measured this. Engineers measure stuff. There's typically 2.5 litres of cold water in the hot tap pipe waiting to be turned on. And you turn the hot tap on and what happens? You wait for 2.5 litres of water to come out. And then it starts to get warm. True? If each person in Australia washes their hands, and this includes showering, just 4 times a day, and I would like to think we all do it more often than that, this accounts for 73 billion litres of water wasted each day while we just wait for the water to get hot. Unbelievable. But it gets worse. It gets worse. You get 73 billion litres of water coming out and wasted, and you wash your hands, and then you turn the tap off. Guess what happens? The hot water in the pipe goes cold. All that energy's lost. So that next time you turn your tap on, all that water that's now gone cold gets wasted before the hot water comes through again. This happens time and time again. Again, we need to think about the little things. These are the things that are just incredible. We just don't think about them. I look at these things all the time and then say, here's the problem. I define an opportunity, and I'll show you how I find these things shortly. I define an opportunity as an observed, fortunate set of circumstances. We need to learn to observe. So I look and I observe, and only 5 things you need to look for. Some of the strange things we seem to do, this blows me away. This is unbelievable. There is a typical check-in this, in fact, I took at Melbourne Airport. No one is recognisable. Now, I challenge anyone to walk through there with a knife in their bag. Is it possible? Impossible. You get caught, correct? Correctamundo. Guess what happens? As soon as you walk through there and you go to the first restaurant, they give you a knife. Hey, don't laugh. Don't laugh. This is a fact. But, some people don't want to they'll go to McDonald's to get a hamburger. That's all right. I go to the Qantas Club. They give me 20 knives. Can you believe this? Now, in Singapore, they're a lot smarter than that. They're very clever in Singapore. In Singapore, they check your bags at the gate. In fact, I'll never forget one day I was in the Qantas Club and I was in there for quite a few hours. I thought, I'll grab a few cans of Tiger Beer, which is really good, and I'll stick it in my luggage and I'll take it home. Hey, it's free after all, I'm in the Qantas Club. You'll never guess what happened. I get to the check-in gate where they check you and they confiscated all my beer. It was terrible. But I had the answer for them. I opened all the cans. There's no way they were going to take it home. So we think Singapore Airlines have got the answer, or Singapore check-ins have got the answer, correct? Wrong. You get on the aeroplane, they bring your meal out, and guess what? They give you a knife. And if you're in first class, they'll give you 2 knives. The world's gone crazy. Have a look at this one. Oh, I love this. I love this. Somebody has put the price value on a headache. Oh, twice as fast paracetamol. I really want to get rid of this headache. I'm going to get the stuff that's really fast. No, look, this headache's I'm quite enjoying this. I'll get the slow one. Whoa. This headache is just fabulous. I'm having a ball with this headache. I'm really enjoying my headache. I really want the slow one. So I'm going to get the very, very slow one. Oh, this headache is so good. And do you know the even funnier part is? The faster it acts, the more you pay. So they put a price value on a headache. Unbelievable. But you can't take it anymore frequently. You still every 4 hours or whatever it is. So it must act quickly, but it dissipates at the same rate, I presume. And so you've got your headache coming later. And that before you take the next one. So maybe you start with the fast one, then you go to the twice as fast, then the fast, then the standard. And hopefully by then you're either dead or it's better. Now this one blows me away. I was at a conference quite recently and the World Innovation Manager for one of the major pharmaceuticals was speaking. And I said to this dude, hey, listen, Cobber, do you sell... he was American, so I called him Cobber. I said, listen, Cobber, do you sell toothbrushes? And he said, of course we do. I said, you sell them in Australia? He said, mate, we've got half the market. I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, how many do you sell a year? And he said, I don't know. I said, I'll tell you, 40 million. He said, how'd you work that out? I said, it's very simple. I'll show you how you do it. Let's assume there's 20 million people in Australia, correct? You change your toothbrush 4 times a year, true? That's 80 million toothbrushes a year. Can you believe that? 80 million a year? You got half the market, you're selling 40 million toothbrushes a year. He said, yeah, you're probably right. I said, would you like me to tell you how to sell more toothbrushes? He said, I'd love you to do that. I said, good. I'll ask a simple question someone in the audience might have an answer. What's the single biggest problem with your toothbrush? Thank you very much. I had a conference this morning. I got exactly the same answer. Always get the same answer. Getting it out of the packet. True? I said to the guy, make the packet easier to open and you'll sell more toothbrushes. You know what he said to me? This will blow you away. He said, yeah, we tried that, doesn't work. I said, really? I said, what did you do? He said, we made it dissolve underwater. Don't laugh, it's true. I said, talk about cracking a nut with a sledgehammer. Have you ever heard of tear here? Duh. Folks, I would like to suggest to you the package for this toothbrush costs more than what's in it. I haven't bought a toothbrush in 20 years. Every time I fly, I go to the Qantas lounge and say, can I have a toothbrush? I shouldn't be revealing my trade secrets. I'll tell you, Qantas is probably watching this, I've got to tell you this too. The Qantas razors are the best in the universe. Now, blokes, you would know razors are expensive, true? Like $7, $8 each. Qantas Club, they're free. I have not bought a razor for a decade. That's a typical popular breakfast cereal, I won't name it. That there is a credit card, just to give you an idea of the scale of size. True? We're talking about sustainability, aren't we? And how we're saving the planet, you know, we don't need so many solar panels, etc. Well, have a look at this. There's the fill line. A third of the package is fresh air. And we are carting this around the countryside at God knows how much expense, just to make us think we're feeling good and getting a lot of stuff for our money. The cardboard, I can tell you, costs more than the contents. Believe me. And this is what we do. And we're all suckers for this, aren't we? So this is the way I think about things. I'm not sure I have another particular slide, but just have a look at some of the silly things we do. Tweets, mostly irrelevant, and you would have to agree. I was at football with a mate of mine recently, and he tweeted the score to his son in England about every 30 seconds. Like, who cares? And in particular, we're both Essendon supporters, so who double cares? 500 million tweets a day, 400 billion texts a month, plastic coffee stirrers, 2 billion per day, and so on and so on. So we don't even think about this. We're thinking about the big picture. So how do I know all this stuff? How do I calculate these things? This is laughingly simple. I developed a simple tool called an opportunity matrix. I said, I develop opportunity as I define it as an observed, fortunate set of circumstances. That's an opportunity matrix. If you use that drawing, you can find all this stuff out. It leads to immeasurable opportunities for improvement in our life and our business, sustainability, and all the things we do. So my message is simply this. Manage the little things, and maybe the big things may not be so necessary. Thank you very much.